Hey guys, I wanted to make a much different video than I normally make. I would really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. It's completely free and it would mean a lot to me. I've been playing a lot of Silksong recently, and I wanted to challenge myself by being Steel Soul. After beating the game for the first time, you unlock Steel Soul. The main difference being that once you die, your save file is resetted. But I also added other rules to make this run even more difficult. First off, no quitting to reset combat. In every encounter, if you get low on health, you can just pause the game and quit the menu. This will take you out of combat and most of the times resets your health. I felt that this mechanic trivialized the challenge, so I completely banned this. I will only quit the menu when I can save time by skipping cutscenes or if I just need to travel to the last bench I sit on. Number 2, no using tools. There are very powerful tools that can make this challenge significantly easier, so I decided not to use them. And finally, number 3, I will use the Hunter's Crest. This is just more of a clarification. There's going to be times where I will discuss intel details of some of the bosses and platforming sections, but these details could change depending on which crest you choose to play. So I just wanted to note that I'm going to be playing on the Hunter's Crest for the entirety of the video. I will also link the Twitch VOD of my first successful run in the description. If you want to see these runs live along with other content, then you should definitely check me out on Twitch. Self-plugs aside, I think it's time we start the challenge. The challenge starts in Moscado, the easiest part of our journey. The only possible danger is Moss Mother, but look for slow and telegraph attacks. She's only slightly more dangerous than her children. This is the only boss I get to completely turn off my brain and just spam the attack button. As long as I make sure to heal occasionally, I'll be alright. In terms of difficulty, Moss Mother is unfortunately at the bottom and is a 1 out of 10. After Moss Mother, we walk up and listen to some unimportant bug yap, then we continue into Bone Bottom. If we are goated enough, we can pogo off a bug and skip most of Bone Bottom, but unfortunately this isn't a speedrun, so I don't get to skip and have to spend some time fighting an easy arena and do some more platforming. After talking to the best bug and doing some more platforming, we get the Silk Spear. The Silk Spear deals 3 times the damage of your nail and can deal it from a distance. The only drawback to Silk Spear is that after we use it, we won't have enough silk to heal. The best approach is to use Spear when I have more health than I need, so that way I can just end fights fast enough but still be safe with my health. Since we have to use Silk Spear for the Belbeast fight, we would not be able to start with a full heal. Belbeast is simple, but deals a full 2 mask of damage on almost all her attacks. She has 3 main moves. She'll try to dash into you, she jumps into the air, or she pops up from the ground and 2 bells roll along the ground. Her dash, I think, is her worst move, since it's her fastest and the most difficult to punish. She lets out an auto heal before she jumps, and she'll take a bit of time before she goes back into the ground, so this is our best opportunity to get as much damage as possible. Her third move is hard to punish, but not hard to dodge. But be careful about using Silk Spear here, since the end lag can let the bells hit you if you're not able to move in time. She'll pop up from the ground during phase transition and stay roaring for a bit. This is a good time to get some damage in. When she goes back, some bells will start falling from the ceiling and she'll start attacking again. Her attacks will now include a bell falling from the ceiling. If you're in a pinch, you can attack these bells to change their trajectory. Overall, Belbeast isn't hard, but we still need to be careful when she is dashing and make sure that the bells don't catch us off guard. I think a 2 out of 10 is an appropriate rating, but don't forget to add an additional 0.5 due to her being adorable for a total of 2.5 out of 10. After Belbeast, we have a bit more of the marrow to explore before we get into the deep dogs. There's a few things we can do to make this area a bit easier to manage. When you reach the jail sign, fall straight down and you'll always land on the platform without falling into the spikes. If things get dangerous, you can always come back and use the bench in the jail. For this jump, as long as you do a mid-air downward attack and hold right, you will always land on this platform. Then you can pogo off of this guy's helmet. Now we reach the deep docks. We can manipulate this dummy to helping us save a few seconds by pogoing off his helmet. After doing some clip farming, and trying to solve Farlam's overpopulation problem, we get our next power up, the Swift Step. By tapping the jump button and immediately using Swift Step, we get to go very fast, but we do kind of look goofy as hell. Now we can start the Lace fight. Lace 1 is a step up in pace from Belbeast, but she lacks a lot of damage and range. I kind of feel bad because we just end up bullying her a lot of these runs. If you time your jumps and dashes correctly, she isn't that dangerous, and usually the lava is just the most threatening part of the fight. You can counter her counter by either jumping, dashing, or a combination of either. You can also just face tank her into her body and just take one mask of damage and just use the iframes to get into a better position. Her phase 2 attack is extremely telegraphed and you have a lot of time to get away. Unfortunately, she's just going to get a 2 out of 10 from me. After being Lace, we have access to the far fields. We need to slow down a bit to make sure we don't fall into the lava, as since we don't have access to the magma tool, we'll always take 2 masks of damage. In the room with the seamstress balloon, make sure to dash downward in midair between this platform and the hook. We're too far up to see the ground beneath us, but dashing downward will always make sure that we land on the ground between these 2 enemies. This gives us enough time and space to get safely past them. Now go back into the float and start the side quest for the Drifter's Cloak. We want to make sure that we rest on the bench to save some time for later. For some reason, the seamstress wants us to upset the Farfield's ecosystem by hunting down these poor innocent creatures, but I kinda get it because they're kinda ugly. By walking back and forth between the rooms, we can make the collection faster. Then click to menu and start up the file to save those precious seconds. We can now turn in the spines and get the Drifter's Cloak. After backtracking for a bit, we get rudely interrupted by a big ass robot who I guess just hates us now. It is possible to completely skip this fight, but I'm not actually a speedrunner, so I don't know how to do the skip. Fourth course is a fight that needs some patience, as his attacks and the lava will do 2 masks of damage. His attacks are very telegraphed, so you may have to stall in the air with Drifter's Cloak. But if your timing is good, you can just jump and use Silk Spear to hit the head for big damage. When you stumble on the ground, everything will reset to its neutral state, even the ground if fourth course broke it. So a rule of thumb is to be aggressive when at full health and then be more conservative when you aren't. The rocks that fall are very slow and only do 1 mask of damage. If you have to, use the rocks for iframes to avoid the 2 mask of damage attacks. After a bit, some air geysers will appear on the sides. Use those and then hit the 2 exposed areas to drop a boulder on fourth course to end the fight. Fourth course is slow and has very telegraph attacks, but his damage and changing the arena can pose some danger. If you're unlucky, you can even have him end your run, so I guess a 3 out of 10 is fine. Now we can backtrack for real. Be careful with some of the exploding rocks. For this last rock, you can just drift on the right side to avoid the enemy and the explosion. We've now made it to Greymore, which is like the halfway point of Act 1. So it's kind of like the quarterway point for the run. We can farm some silk and rosaries from the pilgrims and then continue into the arena. This arena is very fast. If you're struggling, just use Silk Spear. The enemies here really lack with range and have very low health. After gaining some rosaries, we get into a fight with Morwing. Morwing really struggles against Silk Spear. Give him a bit of distance to bait him into attacking us. We can punish him by using Silk Spear or attacking him normally. If you time your pogos and get big combos off, we get a lot more silk, which just means we get to spam more Silk Spear. Getting too close to him is a pretty bad idea. Touching Morwing will deal 2 masks of damage. He also falls out of the air when you stun him, which means if you're in a bad position, you're just going to get hit randomly. In phase 2, we're going to play a bit differently. He gets a new attack, where he launches 2 spinning blades while he flies above you. You can punish this by jumping and swinging upward at the right time. His slicing attacks stays the same as in phase 1, so we'll use that as our safe window to attack or use Silk Spear. His follow-ups in phase 2 can be avoided by playing a safe distance away in midair. Out of the bosses so far, Morwing has the hardest time dealing with Silk Spear. If you want to avoid this fight entirely, just do the first part of the Fleet Caravan quest. 4 out of 10. After destroying Morwing and telling the residents of Belheart to hang in there, we finally get into Shellwood. The first room of Shellwood is the biggest and has some annoying enemies to avoid. First, do a full sprint and jump at the edge of the platform, then do a mid-air attack downward to the left. Now quickly do a mid-air dash in the same direction to almost make it to the next platform. Most of the times you'll either land on the platform or avoid the enemy in the water. We need to move fast enough to make a tricky jump before the mid-air enemy will come over and make the jump harder. So use a mid-air dash to make it onto the ground on the left. Once you're on the platform, do another full dash into jump. When you're at the apex of your jump, hold the drift cloak and time a dash just to grab onto the edge. That was the hardest jump, so proceed as normal and get into the room with the arena. This is the first arena of note, as all the enemies can deal 2 masks of damage. Try to focus one enemy at a time and use Silk Spear at a safe distance. The enemies have dangerous attacks, but they all have very low health. After the arena, we get to see the best bug again. Use the taunt or play some banger music to lure the enemy over and completely skip a boss fight. After doing some style points, we get to earn the clean grip. Now jump from the left and dash downward to safely reach the ground level and proceed to Widow. Widow is the first real test for Act 1. She has a lot of attacks that catch you off guard, so make sure to be aware of both your surroundings and what she's doing. Your best opportunity to attack is when she's busy weaving her bells. There's some delay between the start of her animation and when the bells actually fall, so use this delay to get some easy hits in. Note that anytime that you stun her, the bells will still fall down, so make sure that you aren't in the way. When she is crawling in midair, she will attack downward diagonally. If you get below her, you can quickly get a hit in by jumping and slashing upwards. When she reaches the ground, she runs and slashes horizontally. You can't outrun her during this attack, so jump to dodge it, or if your timing is good, pogo off her head during this attack. Her last attack, she runs along the ground and shortly after, some clusters of bells pop up for a short time. You can pogo both the bells and her head, but if you want to be safe, just spam wall jump along the edges of the arena. At some point, she will cause falling bells to cover parts of the arena. This doesn't have a very large punish window, so just play this safe. Phase 2 Widow is a pain. She spams her bell attacks a lot more, and sometimes they'll bounce off the wall, which makes it really weird to predict where they land. I recommend to play this cautious and not use Silk Spear anymore. We can lose a lot of health in this phase, so we need a heal to play it safe. She will now use her slashing along the ground a lot more often, and it can be hard to dodge when she is close to you. She also likes to use this after she causes the bells to fall, so jumping it is our window to have a safe heal. Our best window to get attacks in is during her roaring, but we can't be as aggressive because Window responds a lot quicker than she did in phase 1. Widow is the first time where the fight can go wrong really fast, and making too many mistakes will cost us the run. Luckily, she has consistent heal opportunities, and it isn't too hard to get hits in. She gets a 6 out of 10, which is a big step up for Act 1. After slurping up Widow, we get the needle in and accidentally save a town. They're so grateful that they cooperatively give us a needle upgrade. Make sure to buy the fastest travel point in Bellheart because we'll want to upgrade our needle again. Now backtrack in Greymore and earn some more style points. Alright, now the warm-up's over. Sinner's Road does not play around. The Muckwater is practically a run ender. All the enemies are annoying to deal with, and we have very small platforming space. In the first room, we take a path to sneak past all the muck roaches. When you see the first roach, climb on the cage above it, then dash in the air and land on the cage beside it. Now climb onto the next cage in front of you and take the upward path to avoid all the roaches. It's fine if some notice you, just make sure to go at a moderate pace. Proceed as normal until you reach the room with the muck water on the right side. The flying enemies like to follow you around the large room, which means that if we mess up the platforming, it's a really fast way to end the run. Unfortunately, I'm not a speedrunner, so I'm going to pick them off one by one. The first is easy enough to kill by attacking under it. You can also use Silk Spear to make the process easier. Just be careful, because we need a full heal if we want to get unmucked. You can hit the next enemy's spikes back at him for some free damage. He can't really do much by himself, so you can be pretty aggressive with him. With those two guys down, this room is a lot more consistent. In the final room, use Drifter's Cloak and full dashes to make the platforming free. Farm this big bug for silk. We always want to have a full bar of silk, because now we're getting into the mist.
Michael! Don't leave me here! Michael! Help me!
The mist is the hardest part of Act 1. Not only is it the hardest, it's the most inconsistent. Other than some rooms, everything is going to be random with a varying amount of enemies and traps in each. The further into the mist we get into, the more traps and enemies we'll see. The wraiths are extremely dangerous. When they dash into you, they will steal your silk and do 2 massive damage. The worst part is that you can't really punish them. They float in the air and at a distance, so the safest way to damage them is to use Silk Spear. But we also need to conserve our silk as we want to be at full health at all times. Each room has multiple exits, with only one correct choice. The butterflies will show you the correct exit when you play the needle in. We want to avoid the wraiths and try to get to the butterflies as soon as possible. The catch is that wraiths can just spawn randomly right in front of you and there's no way to avoid it. There are some things that we have to our advantage. The midway and the final room must have a horizontal exit, which means that they either have a left exit or a right exit. The final room always has a right exit. We can use this to our advantage, so that way we can get out of the mist as quickly and stealthily as possible. Once we are out of the mist, we end up at the exhaust organ, and have one last duel before ending Act 1. Phantom likes to spam attacks, but as long as we stay calm, we can punish almost all of them. Her basic attack is her Chain 3 poke. It has some deceptive range, but only horizontally, so either outspace her or pogo on her head to punish. Her next attack is throwing her pin, then moving in a straight line to wherever the pin landed. The pin throw practically covers the entire area, so it's better to just jump over it instead of trying to outspace it. She can also throw her pin in midair, but we can punish this variation more often, as we have some time to hit her in midair and also when she lands on the ground. When you jump over her pin, you have enough time to get a safe heal in, but be a bit careful. Phantom likes to spam attacks, especially when we're done healing. If we hit her counter, as long as we quickly jump, we'll be fine. We can also be a bit riskier and float for a second, then pogo her at the end of her counter for a stylish hit. Phantom will always finish her counter in the same direction as she was facing, so if she's facing right, then pogo to the right. Her most dangerous attack is when she jumps off screen, then comes crashing down in a telegraphed area. It's faster than it looks, and it does a full 2 mask of damage. She likes to do this move a lot when she's in her phase transition, spamming this move 5 times in succession. So after she screams, be prepared to be on the move. Phase 2 is very much the same, but she might jump off screen more often, so try to stay in the middle as this gives you more space to dodge. Phantom, once you master it, is a fight that's very consistent and fun. It's a great test of nerves for the road ahead. Oh yeah, it also has a banger screensaver. In difficulty, I give Phantom a 5 out of 10. With Phantom defeated, we learn the cross stitch and move up in Farland to take on Act 2. Act 2 starts off with Lace yapping about getting her revenge or something, but I'm too busy mashing to care. We get immediately ambushed and need to use the power of our Weaver bloodline to start dodging everything. We have enough room to maneuver for now. If Act 1 was the warm up, then Act 2 is the real test. Now is the time to start locking in. Do your best to avoid fights in general, as the enemies in Act 2 are placed in some annoying spots. If you need to heal, use the bench in Songclave. And you know what? I won't even judge you this time if you need to do it. Pogo off the tall, dark, and handsome bugs, then run away from them to reach the next fight as soon as possible. In theory, this fight is very simple. The dancers only have 3 unique moves. They move in a telegraph line, pair up in the middle and create a ball of slashes that surround them, or they go off screen and move along telegraph lines. The complexity comes from the faster timing along the phases, and how their health works. Each dancer has their own health, so the fastest approach is just to attack the same dancer. When they go off screen, they'll always return to the same position, and when they go to the middle, the right dancer will always go to the right, and the left dancer will always go to the left. When they hit the ground, they extend a hitbox with some decent distance, so be careful not to misjudge. Everything in this fight does 2 mask of damage, so be cautious. Each phase makes the timing faster, with the third phase making one of the dancers move off beat. If your timing is good, the cross stitch is a great counter. It gives you a lot of damage and good iframes, but your timing needs to be good, as missing it will put you 2 masks down and without a heal. You're probably going to have to improvise in this fight, as it gets more chaotic the longer the fight goes on. But just make sure to keep up the pressure and don't be intimidated. 6 out of 10. Now we can go into Cogwork Core. Make sure to take the left path here, as it's much safer than the right path. Cogwork Core gets a lot easier to practice, so if you're struggling, then this is kind of the point where the game is telling you to get good. A lot of the enemies can do 2 masks of damage, and the gears will still damage you even if you have iframes. Make sure to kill this guy, as for some reason the game will spawn you next to him, but not the perfectly safe platform that's right above him if you need to respawn. A bit more platforming, and we're in the first arena of Act 2. A lot of the danger comes from the first and the second to last wave, as it's mostly just spam from enemies, but you better get used to it. Pick off the enemies one by one and the difficulty gets significantly reduced. The last wave is extremely easy, if you have enough silk. Bait him charging you and use cross stitch for an easy clear. The Whispering Vaults has a lot of space, so when it comes to traversal and avoiding enemies, you have more than enough room. Just make sure to pick up the Pale Oil before doing the boss fight, as the only way to get back to that area is to do the boss fight early or lose a lot of time by going all the way back to Cogwork Core. If you're slightly less broke than before, make sure to buy the Grand Belly Fast Travel. Go back to Belheart and upgrade our nail to the max level for this run. Now it's time to take on a run ender. This is the first fight where the lack of tools are very noticeable. Trobio is a fight that requires patience and calculation. Trobio moves erratically and can have devastating traps if you're over aggressive. Silk management is hard in this fight, as you won't always get the chance to hit him multiple times. He likes to spam projectiles and zone you out, and his most dangerous attack is his 3 explosive balls. These balls deal 2 mass damage. You can hit the balls, but they can be very hard to predict when they're bouncing off the walls and suddenly stop in midair. The balls themselves are more likely to hit you than their explosions. Trobio can throw the balls from underground, on the ground, or in midair, so it's best to just anticipate that Trobio will just throw his balls randomly around. At least when he's underground, the stage lights will follow him, so it's easy to predict what he'll do and adjust accordingly. The second move to look out for is his tornado attack. You can punish this attack by pogoing off his head. Just be warned that missing will likely lead you to getting hit for 2 masks of damage. The projectiles that follow after he is done aren't too difficult to dodge. The tricky part is that Trobio can do this again on the ground or in midair. Getting too close to him could lead you to getting caught by the tornado. If you're far away enough, you can use this time to heal when he's losing momentum. Just be warned, as I have seen him use this attack with another tornado attack. His last attack is him jumping into the air and using fireworks to cover a lot of area. This attack is very easy to avoid, but it's very dangerous in combination with his other attacks. You might get some very bad luck and have some really nasty things to avoid. In phase 2, he will go underground and start some telegraph explosions, after which he'll shortly pop out of the ground. Other than that attack, everything else is the same. Let Trobio set the pace of the fight and punish accordingly. Don't be too aggressive or use silk when you don't need to. There's a lot to handle in this fight, so expect to get hit occasionally. Cross stitch is your best friend, as it provides crucial iframes needed in a pinch. Trobio is definitely the hardest boss of the run so far. 8 out of 10. After that fight, we are now officially in the end game. Pretty much every area in fights from here on out has the chance to end our run if we're not careful enough. And first, we start with the Underworks. This section is short, but that doesn't mean we should rush it. Majority of this area is avoiding lava and enemies, so we have to be careful. In some rooms, we can't afford to make too many mistakes. The scariest room has a long traversal section filled with lava. Getting distracted in this room is a quick ticket back to the start. At the end, take your time by spamming wall jumps to bait out the explosion. After that room, your health doesn't matter as much as clawing will give you full heal when you pick it up. The hardest part of this section is over, but you need to keep your guard up. Use clawline to one-shot the robot enemies and use cross stitch for the other bugs. Now make your way back into Whispering Vaults to learn the first third of the melody. Now go back to Cogwork Core and open up the way to the main entrance. With clawline unlocked, we now have a choice between which sections we want to do next. I prefer doing Hyatt Halls first, as I like to get out of the way before doing the rest of Cogwork Core. But it's mostly preference, as this isn't a speedrun. At the entrance of High Halls, there's a spindle that we can use for a full bar of silk. We're going to use clawline a lot in this area, so having a lot of silk is recommended. In the first room, you can quickly get past the Minestro as he's spawning since he doesn't have a hitbox yet. In the next room, make sure to take the left path to sneak past the Minister. The third room is where the silk comes in handy. The more silk we have, the easier this room is, as we can just spam clawline to avoid the enemies. But in this run, I wasn't that resourceful and had to use some strats. Similar to the first room, we can always just run past the Minestro. When the ministers appear later, time your clawline to hit the one in front of you, then use Strifter's closest stall for another clawline to clear the room. We only get one good shot at this, so if you fail, go back and restart the room. Abuse Strifter's cloak for the final room and take your time. Now, use the bench and catch your breath. This is the final arena of the run. It requires the utmost concentration, skill, and a little bit of luck. Once you mentally prepare yourself, head into the High Halls arena. Wave 1 starts with an envoy, a chorister, and a reed. This wave tries to overwhelm you at the start, so stay calm and pick off the enemies one by one. The envoy has the least amount of health, so focus your attention on killing it first. Wave 2 has only 2 choristers. It's a simple wave as long as you can keep them separate from each other. When they are together, their movesets cover up each other's weaknesses very well, so focus one down before they link up. Wave 3 starts with a reed and a bell bearer. A claw maiden spawns in after a bit. If you're fast enough, you can kill the bell bearer before the claw maiden spawns, so that way you only have to worry about 2 enemies instead of 3. If you're comfortable enough with the bell bearer, then you can kill the reed instead, but that window is much shorter. The claw maiden can steal our silk, so that's a priority to kill. Wave 4 starts with 2 ministers and a claw maiden after the first kill. We have plenty of space to maneuver around the ministers, so take your time. When the claw maiden spawns, we want to kill it quickly, but don't rush it like in Wave 3. The ministers may have low mobility, but their damage is still very dangerous. Wave 5 has 2 Minestros. Good positioning helps a lot with this wave. Stand below one of the Minestros and attack by jumping and swinging upward. If you're in the right spot, the cogflies will miss you when it comes to attack. Wait for the cogflies to finish spinning before you start attacking again. You need to be on the lookout for what the other Minestro is doing, as it can still attack and hit you. This wave is more annoying than dangerous, but we still need to be on our A game for the next wave. Wave 6 has a solo choir clapper, which isn't too hard to deal with. But if you're chipped from the previous wave, then it only takes one mistake to lose the run. When it first comes to the arena, you can get 2 free hits off before it roars. Almost all attacks it does deals 2 damage, so patience is key. His worst attack is his horizontal swing. It's fast and it can be a bit inconsistent to dodge. It has decent range and he likes to use it a lot. When he stabs his mallet in the ground, you can pogo him, which gives you enough time to either continue the chain or dash away to avoid any of his attacks. The bright side is that he will leave some silk behind after you kill him, so make sure you have some health for the next wave. Wave 7 has 2 reeds and a bellbear. It's hard to get the bellbear in this wave, as the projectiles and counters from the reeds deny a lot of room. Be patient and just attack safely. We can only hit one projectile at a time, so focus on avoiding, as it's hard to track everything that's happening. Wave 8 has 2 bellbears and a chorister, with a claw maiden spawning after the first kill. Focus on one of the bellbearers, then the claw maiden. The claw line is very good for this wave, for both attacking and dodging. The chorister can't really keep up with our movement, so leave him for last. Wave 9 has 2 ministers and 1 bellbearer. If we are fast enough, we can take down the bellbearer first, but don't take that as an excuse to rush it. Instead, play this safe. The combination of minister's damage and the bell projectiles are extremely annoying. This wave has 1 reed and 1 maestro. I don't think this wave is as bad as wave 5, but it can still set you up for failure if we don't focus. Choose one of the 2 enemies to focus down first. I don't think there's a correct choice of what to kill first. The most important part of this wave is to stay healthy, as we have the last and hardest wave next. The final wave has 2 clappers. An individual clapper isn't too bad by itself, but when they pair up together, it's a nightmare to deal with. You need to kill one of them as soon as possible. It's not a recommendation, it's mandatory. Their attacks cover each other very well and deal a lot of damage very quickly. With 2 of them, one can body block you from avoiding the other's attack. Your health is going to get low unless you are very lucky. This is the last wave, so keep calm. You're right at the finish line. With one down, the other isn't too hard to deal with. Just don't let your guard down. After the High Halls arena, you get the second melody. If you decide to try this challenge, then take a moment and recognize that you just beat the hardest arena in the game with only the needle, which is an insane accomplishment by itself. This was by far the hardest part of the challenge. I know this isn't a boss, but it's definitely a 10 out of 10 difficulty. Now all that's left is just one more melody. The end of Silksong is near, just one last set of platforming before the finale. The second half of Cogware Core may not be as hard as High Halls, but that doesn't mean it isn't scary. By this point, the only pressure worse than High Halls is the pressure of beating it and trying to finish the run. Cogware Core demands precision. It's hard to heal, as we need to use claw line and there aren't too many sources of silk around. Not to mention a few tight sections where we need to avoid the enemies. Lure out the enemies closer to you and use claw line to zip over them. They don't have enough mobility to catch you, so use that time to open the door and don't look back. In the last room, either lure out the enemies toward the start of the room and kill them, or use claw line to just barely squeeze past them. After totally solving the puzzle in less than 5 minutes, we get the final melody and now have to float back down. This is one of the times where we don't get a heal, so be very careful coming back down. All that's left now is the final fights of the game before we beat Act 2 and end the run. Once you're mentally prepared, take the ride up and have one final showdown with Lace. Lace 2 is fast, hits hard, and has a tricky moveset. This is the fight where things go from 0 to 100 in a second. It's a massive upgrade from Lace 1 in every way, but it's not impossible. The most important thing is nerves. We've had a lot between the start all the way up here, and one death means we have to do it all over again. Always stay calm and don't rush. Try to stay in the middle of the area, as Lace will have an easier time hitting you when you're closer to the edge of the arena. Imagine she's playing Smash Bros while you're playing Silksong. One thing to note is to never dash in at the start. Her first attack is scripted, and if you dash in, you at least will take 1 damage. Lace's weakness is her range. We can outspace her attacks and punish. For a 3-hit combo, walk away from her, then walk and attack towards her to push her back and get some damage. When she jumps, time your own jump or dash towards her to dodge. You have some time attack, but it's not a huge window. When Lace stuns, keep attacking her or take the time to heal if you're 3 mask or below. In her second phase, she'll jump more and parts of her jumps will be covered with lingering hitboxes. Your jump timing doesn't change, just be careful when you dash. Lace can now also do multiple charges, so pay attention to her animations. In her last phase, she uses her telegraph attack from her first fight in the Deep Docks. If you're a timing god, you can attack her twice and dash into her to avoid the tag. Otherwise, just dash away to dodge it completely. When you hit her counter, always jump. If she stays on the ground, jump over her. If she goes in the air, dash away from her. Either way, you can jump to avoid either variant of her counters. Like I said before, things can go wrong fast, so use these strats to slow down the pace to your level. Lace is hard, but not invincible. Wear her down and she too will fall. 9 out of 10. This is it, the final fight. Steel Soul is one fight away from being beaten with only the needle. After everything, you have more than enough skill to beat the challenge. Lock in for the last part of the run, Grandmother Silk. Grandmother Silk has the highest burst damage of the game, with her grab attack doing 3 mask of damage, but there's a lot of time between her attacks. It's practically safe to heal after her attack finishes. Stay aggressive to always have a heal on you. 7 out of 10. Alright, let's see how I did. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. This was my first time making a project like this. I would really appreciate it if you could leave a comment, let me know what you think. It was a lot of fun to play and see this video come together. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe. And if you want to see these runs live, make sure to follow me on Twitch. Wait, what's that in the corner? Okay, that's going to take a long time for me to do.